Prudent Scholars in association with Goa Headmasters Association.
Hello students, myself teacher Melita Cabral. Have a great day ahead. Today we are going to learn a new topic, Emergence of Nationalism in India. Let us understand the meaning of nationalism first. A nation state can be defined as the state where the citizens are free, sovereign with the characters of geographical, cultural and ethical factors. They have the sense of unity among them. They have the features among them like the population, sovereignty and many more. And to it, one more feature is added, that is nationalism. Nationalism is nothing but a feeling of unity, a feeling of oneness, a love towards your nation. So let us understand the topic well today. In this topic, we are going to learn the first part, that is intro, then the birth of Indian National Congress, era of moderates, era of extremists, and then the last part, the Gandhian era. Now, in the 19th century, the nationalism emerged in India. The major role was played by the Western education and English language. This Western education and English language brought the whole people or country of the people together, and they could discuss and chart down the programs to fight against the British government. We learn through English language, we learn equality, liberty and right of the people to form their own government. Now let us understand how Europeans came in India. In the 15th century, we have reference to the revival of sea routes in India. Through these sea routes, Europeans came in India first as traders. They liked India very much because in India there were many more things where they could exchange their goods, especially the spices. They were fond of the spices and they wanted to exchange it among themselves. So because of this reason, they entered in India in the 15th century. Then slowly they started taking interest in the political affairs in India. And then they had a political control over India. They started interfering in the people's life. They started interfering in the religious matters. And all these led them, they studied people very well. And these led to have a political control in India. And for this reason, they set up in 1600 East India Company. And when they set up the East India Company in India, they started asking for the concessions from the native rulers. But every part of India, they were native rulers and they wanted the permission for the purpose of trade. And when they started to take the concessions, they could do the trade very well. So because of these reasons, they started asking for the concessions from the native rulers. The situation started becoming more alarming when they started to have wars. They waged wars and they were victorious in that battles. So they had two wars. One, a battle of Plassey in 1757, which gave them very strong hold place in the country. Through this battle, they became very strong in the country. And second battle was Battle of Buxar in 1764, which gave them sole right to collect the Diwani from the Nawab of Bengal, Bihar and Orissa. Now, Diwani means the revenue which is to be collected in form of taxes from the Nawabs of Bengal, Bihar and Orissa. And after this, there was total exploitation of India. There was discontentment among the people. Okay? People were not very happy with the political power of the British people. They started following the policy of racial supremacy. Because of skin color, they started to differentiate between the white and the black people. They interfered in the religion. They started preaching their religion to the people. And these all led to the economic exploitation of the country. And the Indian people did not keep quiet after looking at the situation. They led a revolt against the company rule. And that was your first war of India's independence. Now, India is revolting, Indian leaders are revolting, but the Britishers did not keep quiet. Even they started suppressing the rule. Even the revolt was suppressed by the British people. Now you have the reference to Queen's Proclamation of 1858. Now what is this Queen's Proclamation? This Queen's Proclamation is nothing but in Ahmedabad a grand procession was taken. In that, Lord gave the permission to the Queen to become and take the full power in her hand. So through this Proclamation Act, the administration came under the aegis of Queen Victoria of England. And that's how the rule of British East India Company came to an end. And the administration part went in the hands of the Queen. Now the Indians were feeling that we have to fight for our nation. Britishers are doing something or the other and we have to do something. We are not doing anything, and one day the Britishers are going to have a full power control over India. So this consciousness was arising and they were understanding the economic and political exploitation of Indians. So there came up a group who believed in the violent methods. They founded secret organizations. Now the meeting in the public was not possible. So they had to slowly, secretly come together and discuss how to do, what to do, when to do. So they founded secret organizations, managed to get to arms, because if you want to fight against the Britishers, without anything you won't be able to fight. You need arms for that. Okay? You need arms and ammunition, and for that reason they managed to get to arms, published newspapers in the foreign countries, and they started doing many more such things in order to gain more power than the Britishers. One among them was the young revolutionary who had come up in 1879, Vasudev Balwant Phadke. He staged an uprising against the British government. On 22nd June 1897, you have Damodar Chafikar shot W.C. Rand, who was Plague Commissioner of Pune. Then they felt like there should be one more party who could lead them forward, who would motivate them, who would inspire them. And for this reason, they formed National Association. And that was known as Indian National Congress. Now let us understand about your formation of Indian National Congress. On 20th December 1885, Indian National Congress was established at Bombay. The first president of Indian National Congress was Umesh Chandra Banerjee, and first secretary was your Govind Krishnanath Trimbak Telang, popularly known as K.T. Telang. And in this Indian National Congress Foundation was laid by, and key role was played by Alan Octavian Hume. He was a civil retired servant. Now, in order to understand the freedom struggle of India, it can be divided into three phases. The first phase is your from 1885 to 1905, called as the era of moderates. The second phase from 1905 to 1920, called as the era of extremists. And the third phase from 1920 to 1947, called as the Gandhian era. So now let us understand it one by one. Let us learn the first era, the era of moderates. Now, these moderate leaders adopted constitutional and peaceful methods to demand Swaraj. They said, let us have very peaceful and very constitutional rule by rule laws and the methods to demand Swaraj. The leaders were Himash Chandra Banerjee, Surendranath Banerjee, Justice Rande, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, Firoz Shah Mehta and Pandit Motilal Nehru, father of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Now these leaders had sent their demands in form of memorandum, writ petitions and appeals. They have written whatever they had their demands, they were written and sent to them. So they believed in the policies of 3 P's. It's very easy to remember. It is 3 P's: petition, protest and prayers. Now whatever their demands were, they had written, okay, their appeals, they had written down and they had sent to the British government. Now this work of the revolutionaries were carried on mostly from Bengal and Maharashtra. The other revolutionaries were Shyamji Krishna Verma, Senapati Bapat, Khudiram Bose and Prafulla Chakki. All these leaders had the vast experience among them, but one important personality who had a vast experience about the freedom struggle was Vinayak Damodar Savarkar. He was popularly known as Swatantra Veer Savarkar. He founded Abhinav Bharat to guide the revolutionaries. By this time this was going on, when one by one revolutionaries were coming, they were coming up with the different newspapers and the different organizations. Here we have reference to partition of Bengal. In 1905, Lord Curzon partitioned Bengal. He told people, or he told the British government that Bengal is a large province and it is becoming difficult to administer. So because of that reason, we have to divide Bengal. But the intention of Lord Curzon was very different. He just said that because it is a big province, we are not able to administer it. But in his mind, the idea was to divide and rule. The division of on the basis of religion. He wanted to divide on the basis of Hindus and Muslims. He wanted to bring Muslims one side and he wanted to bring Hindus one side. Basically because to make their way clear. If the Hindus are separate and Muslims are separate, then they can get more power and full control over India because they among themselves will fight. So because of this reason, he wanted to divide the Bengal. And because of this reason, there was difference of opinion among Indian National Congress. Because moderates who believed in the peaceful methods said that we have still faith in the British government. But other group, okay, they said like, no, we have to understand the idea behind the partition of Bengal. Because it is a divide and rule policy, it is our division, it is Hindus and Muslims division. But the moderates did not listen to the other leaders and that's how there was split of Indian National Congress and there emerged one more group and that is extremist group. And from here we have coming up of era of extremists. Now these extremist leaders were Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Bipin Chandra Pal. They are called as Lal, Bal and Pal. It's very easy to remember students, it's Lal, Bal and Pal. Now these leaders believed in very aggressive measures. Moderates believed in the peaceful methods, whereas these extremists believed in the violent and aggressive measures. They said that if you want Swaraj, it has to be demanded and not pleaded before them. Okay? If you want independence, you have to tell them, yes, I want independence, I want it. It is not to be pleaded, yes, just give me independence, give me independence. No, not at all. They believed in the violent methods. And among these three, the most important one was Lokmanya Tilak. He told people that how they have to fight against the British government if they want independence. And during this time, Lokmanya Tilak came with the slogan, Swaraj is my birthright and I shall have it. Independence is my right and I will get it. Through this, Tilak started the use of Swadeshi goods and boycott of foreign goods. The Swadeshi and boycott were very two important weapons with whom he wanted to fight against. He came up with the celebration of Shivaji festival and Ganesh festival. Now, why he wanted to celebrate these festivals in public? He just wanted to make people aware that all have to come together and celebrate this. He wanted to bring all the masses together and teach them what is unity. Teach them unity for the cause of India's freedom struggle. He also started with the education of nationalism. He told people that let us start with the national education. Let us send our children in our own schools and not in the British schools. So that he can tell people the self-respect should be inculcated among the people. The people should realize the pride towards our own nation. Tilak also participated in the Home Rule movement started by Anne Besant. And because of all this thing, Gandhiji remarked him as the maker of India. Tilak was known as the maker of modern India. Tilak started, now everyone wanted to bring the masses together. They wanted to convey their message to them. They wanted to tell people that how good it is and how they can fight against the British government. And for this reason, they had come up with the newspapers, and Tilak came with two newspapers. One is Maratha in English and Kesari in Marathi. Bipin Chandra Pal came with New India newspaper, while Bande Mataram was introduced by Aurobindo Ghosh. With this, the first phase of the extremists comes to an end. And then we have the second phase, that is from 1906. In 1906, a Muslim League was formed. Now, this Muslim League was formed in close confederation with the British government. British government wanted the help of the Muslims and the moderates so that they can fight against the extremist leaders. By this time, in 1909, Molle Minto reform was passed. Through this Molle Minto reform, the number of seats were increased in the legislature only for the Muslims. Okay, the seats were increased in the legislature only for the Muslims in Molle Minto reform. Now, the extremist leaders did not like about this. They said, what is going on? Only for the Muslims the seats are increased. Why not for us? But in this also, Britishers had their policy in the mind. If they give seats for the Muslims, then what will happen? Muslims will have a courtesy to them. They will help them. They will show the courtesy towards the British government. So, because of this reason, the Britishers gave them the number of seats in the legislature. Then, in 1919, you have Montagu-Chelmsford reforms. Through this reform, the certain provinces or certain parts of India was handed over to the Indians. Now, these extremists were not happy. They wanted full India with them. And why only the few parts to them? So, this was a big question to the extremist leaders. And during that time, they said like, we are going to uprise against you all. We are going to fight against you all, and because of this reason, extremist leaders were arrested one by one. And during this time, hierarchy was introduced in India. It is a government by two independent authorities. Then we have reference to Rowlatt Act, which was passed in 1919. Now this was passed by the British government and it is also called as Black Act. Now through this act, it gave the government an enormous power, okay, and it authorized the British government or the officer to arrest anyone without suspension and imprison them without any trial for 2 years. They could arrest anybody and they could put them in the prison without any trial. So Gandhiji this time did not keep quiet. Okay, he reacted to it, and Gandhiji's response to Rowlatt Act, let us see now. He called for a nationwide protest on 6th April 1919. He called for all India Hartal. In India, he called for all India Hartal. Now, to response of this from the people was very good. Everybody participated. Hindus, Muslim, man, women, children, everybody participated in this movement. From towns, villages, everybody could come. And this was not tolerated by the Britishers. So on 13th April 1919, the Britishers reacted. The thing happened is this. On 13th April 1919, in the Jallianwala Bagh, that is the Amritsar massacre, people had gathered to celebrate their festival called Baisakhi, and it is also called as Baisakhi Day. When they had gathered on the ground, it was a barren ground and only main gate was there. Okay, and during that time when these all people were there, men, women, children, everybody, and they had come to celebrate there, a short meeting was going on. During that time, the General Brigadier Dyer ordered his troops to fire. And people were not understanding actually what is going on. What will be the result of it? They were just standing and looking, and the bullets were going one by one after another, which killed many people. Everywhere there was bloodshed. Some people were crushed. And when he was asked what was the reason behind it, he said martial law was there. And according to this act, according to this law, nobody should move out of the house. And since you all moved, this is the punishment the people got. People were unaware of this law. These people were not knowing of this martial law. They were not informed. They were not warned about it. And he came and fired the people. This was a bad side of the Britishers in India. Here you can see the bullet marks. Here are the bullet marks where the bullets were fired on the people. On 1st August 1920, Tilak passed away and the era of extremists came to an end. Now, the leaders, the people wanted to have one more leader who would guide them correctly, who would motivate them, and who would take them on the right path. So they were waiting for this great leader. And then you have the coming up of the Gandhian era and coming up of Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi's entry in India changed the full model of struggle. There were full changes in the entire freedom struggle of India. He was the one who made the freedom struggle easier for the people to fight for their right. He would tell the people how to fight against the British government. He told and believed in the principle of be the change you want to see. He urged people, if you want to see the change around you, you yourself have to change first. If you go with the negative thought, and if you want to change the mind of the other person, you won't be able to do it. First, you have to go with the positive thought. First, you have to change yourself, and then you can change the personality of others. So, he told the people, be the change you want to see. He believed in satyagraha, non-violence and non-cooperation. That is truth, non-violence, no fighting, and non-cooperation is not to support Britishers, not to cooperate with the functioning of the Britishers. He fought for racism in South Africa. In South Africa, a bad thing was going on. As the native rulers, Europeans had come and settled in South Africa, they were discriminating the white people and the black people. They were not treating black people as they are treating for the white people. They considered themselves as the dominant ones and black people as the inferiors. They were also mixed category people like Indians. So they considered the black people and the Indians as the inferior and they as the superior. So Gandhiji fought for racism in South Africa, where he himself had an experience. When he was traveling by train, one day he happened to sit, he had a ticket and he happened to sit in the train. The ticket master asked him for a ticket, he gave a ticket to him, but he was told to move from that seat and go and sit in the cabin, only because he was black. So when he got this incident, he met with this incident, he decided to fight for racism in South Africa. He fought for peasants for their share in profits, that is plantation system. Now plantation system is nothing but the owners, the British owners used to tell people to cultivate the plant which they want. The crops which the farmers want, the farmers were not able to cultivate. The planters told the farmers to cultivate only indigo, because indigo was a plant which would give them a good price. The quality of indigo was very good and they liked it very much. In fact, they tried to cultivate the indigo there in Europe, but it could not give them a good quality. So because they wanted a good quality from India, they forced peasants to cultivate only indigo. But the farmers were unhappy because they were not having the other crop, nor they used to give them any money to cultivate indigo. So whatever they cultivate, they had to give it to them and they used to sell it and get a good price. But here the peasants were in loss. They used to not get anything, no share. So because of this reason, Gandhiji fought for the peasants' rights and gave them their share. He also started with the non-cooperation movement during this time. He led 3 successful satyagrahas, one at Champaran in Bihar, second in Ahmedabad, and third in Kheda districts of Gujarat. These all were because of plantation system. The next we have reference to Khilafat question. Now the Caliph of Turkey was religious head of all Muslims all over the world. And on them an insulting treaty of service was imposed, which led to breakup of the Turkish Empire. Now these Muslim people were not happy with this, so they formed a Khilafat committee to protest under Maulana Muhammad Ali, Shaukat Ali, Hasrat Mohani and Hakim Ajmal Khan. So under these leaders, they formed a Muslim committee to protest against the Britishers. And then this Muhammad Ali, Shaukat Ali and other leaders, they went running to Gandhiji and told Gandhiji that they want to club this with the non-cooperation movement because they believed in the peaceful methods. So Gandhiji became very happy because he wanted to unite, because there was division of Hindus and Muslims, divide and rule policy. So Gandhiji became very happy because for him he wanted to bring the Indians together. It was he won a lottery because they themselves had come to him to ask for a help. So Gandhi said, why not? Let us club it together and fight against the British government. And Gandhiji changed it to Khilafat Non-Cooperation Movement, which was launched on 1st August 1920. Now, what are the features of this Khilafat movement? The first one, not to cooperate with the British in the functioning of the government. They told people not to cooperate in the functioning of the British government. Second, to boycott the government-aided schools and colleges and establish national educational institutions. They told people not to send their children to British schools and colleges. Let us have our own schools and colleges and let us send our children in these schools. Third one, to boycott the government courts and set up tribunals for administering justice. Even the courts were boycotted. The Indians should not go in the British courts, and they tried to have their own tribunals. Fourth, to boycott the elections to the provincial legislature. Now, Muslims were given more number of seats in the legislature, and now they decided, because there is inequality, now they decided in the features of Khilafat movement that to boycott the election of the provincial legislature, so that there won't be any inequality to them. And the last one, fifth one, to prohibit drinking liquor, to stop drinking alcohol. They did not want people to drink alcohol. Now, what are the effects of this Khilafat agitation? Leaders like Sri Rajgopalachari, C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru boycotted the government courts. They did not go in the government courts. In fact, they wanted to set up their own courts, and they boycotted going in these courts. Students boycotted going in schools and colleges. They had their own schools and colleges, and they did not go in the British schools. In fact, students of Aligarh University formed Jamia Millia Islamia, their own college. Then we have coming in the picture Subhash Chandra Bose, who resigned from Indian civil service and took up a job of a principal of National College. Then people boycotted all foreign goods. They started using Swadeshi goods. They put fire to the clothes of Britishers. Everywhere in the villages, bonfire was put where people could go and dump their British clothes. So today we will learn up to here, and in the next class we will continue with the further topics. Thank you, students.